Good morning, beautiful people. It is Monday, June 1st, 2020. I assume rest of the world, watched this weekend as our country was in one of the most interesting states it has ever been in its existence. You know, the murder of George Floyd and his passing away last week prompted an entire country to say, hey, you know what? This is going to be the time where we take a stand. There had been protests and injustices before that have all led to this moment, but it felt like the George Floyd murder was one that had the entire country ready for real change in the United States of America. It wasn't just regional. It wasn't just a city. It felt like it was the entire country with everybody representing from every single ethnicity, age group, everything like that saying, hey, listen, this is not what our country is about. Peaceful protests were happening. A lot of people were showing up on the streets, marching, chanting in unison. And I felt like this was potentially the turning point in America to come together and rally and be on the same side of this particular issue. There's always been tone-deaf people who make excuses for things. Well, I want to see the entire video. What did he do? There's always these things happen. And sometimes, by the way, those people, by seeing the entire video and getting a different story, they feel as if they were right all along. But the George Floyd murder that was captured for 8 minutes and 46 or 41 seconds, whatever it was, I think even got the tone-deaf people who didn't realize about potential police brutality and injustices, even though it's been shoved in their face here the last couple of years with the emergence of social media and stuff like that. I think George Floyd was the turning point for a lot of people who said, okay, that can't happen in the country that we're from. That happened that time. That's happened before. We are now going to become a country that stands for everything that we wanted to stand for whenever we were originally founded. Freedom for everybody, opportunity for everybody, equality. Everybody was on the same side, and that's why the protest from one side of our nation to the other, even into Europe and other cities, people were protesting about it. Then the narrative got changed. Then the narrative got changed by these rioters and destroyers that were preying on an opportunity and seizing this to become a time where they could just come in and turn cities into shambles. And then all those tone-deaf people that were starting to come around and say, yeah, you know what happened to George Floyd, we can't ever let happen again. And although I didn't listen whenever Colin Kaepernick took a knee, and I didn't listen whenever the things went down in Baltimore and in Ferguson and things of that, but whenever you watch the George Floyd thing happen, they were finally like, okay, let's do it. Protests happen. Let's go. Here we go. We're rolling. And then all of a sudden, this protest gets linked to the destruction of cities from one side of our country to the other. Indianapolis was no exception. Our entire downtown was on fire at certain times. Every single window got broke. Every single store that we had basically got looted. And that was initially started as a beautiful protest that brought out a lot of people. We had faith ministers out there. People that practice all types of religion were out there. We had every single age group out there protesting. And then when the night fell, the protest was used as an opportunity by people who I don't think were from Indianapolis, that did not care about what happened to George Floyd. They were simply there to spark violence and to do something terrible. And the only reason why I know that is because I was watching a Facebook live stream from a man named Christopher White. He was inside of it, and you could see the protesters who were passionate. And really what we were all thinking, they were chanting and singing. Now, granted, there were some expletives, and they were definitely saying some things I would assume that you're not going to enjoy hearing if you're a cop or a cop's family, but there was no violence. They were just protesting. They were enabling their right to do so. And then you turn the corner and you got these guys in ski masks. You got these white dudes with skateboards and baseball bats just popping out windows, bing, bang, boom, and then just leaving. Not even a part of the chanting, not even part of anything. They just used it as an opportunity to kind of lose their minds. And in my eyes, I think we have to remember to keep the protesters in the mission, in the statement, the main focus here, okay? Like, I think we're at a point where all of America is like, yep, this is the side we're on. Now, granted, there's always going to be holes of the ass that are going to be on the other side. There's always going to be a couple of them. I mean, damn it, we all know them. But I feel like as a whole, we are all on that mission side. I feel like George Floyd was really the tipping point for a lot of people. But we have to keep that mission separate from the anarchy that was happening, because if we tie those two together, we're never going to be able to keep people on the same side as, hey, we're with them. Just because the mission in the statement was getting muddied by the people that chose to act like asses. So I want to say this. I want to thank everybody that went out there peacefully protested. We are 100% on your side in this particular office. I had a chance to be in a locker room with a lot of guys, listen to a lot of stories, and hear a lot of things. And whenever you learn about that type of stuff, it really opens your eyes a little bit more and go like, oh, damn, I did not know that was happening. And now with the emergence of social media and body cameras and everybody, we've all kind of seen it. Now it's our time to kind of enact on it. Mobilize. Killer Mike's speech was amazing. If you haven't heard it, I would recommend you listen to it a couple times down in Atlanta, where he basically said, hey, listen, now is the time. If you don't like the way something's going, we beat them up at the ballot box. If you don't like the way something's going, now is the time for us to enact real change, because I feel like the narrative of the entire country is, hey, let's do this now. 2020 has been, an absolute cluster. Just an absolute miserable mess 2020 has been. But I think the one silver lining in this entire thing is with George Floyd, and I know this should have happened sooner, I'd assume a lot of people are thinking, and it didn't. That's just the way the world is. But with the George Floyd situation, it feels like this is the most our world has actually come together around something. And for that, I am thankful, and we can't let the rioters and the destroyers distract us from the fact that we are all on the same side of this thing whenever it comes to the murder of George Floyd by Dave Chauvin. And there's other 3 cops too, by the way, that just sat around and watched that whole thing happen for 8 minutes, 41 seconds. I'd assume that their days are potentially coming, but I feel like we got to remember that we're all on the same side of this thing, and I, for one, am very grateful. We'll be talking to a man that is on the same side as us in this entire thing in about 54 minutes. J.R. Smith, who was caught on camera beating up one of the rioters or destroyers in his neighborhood because the rioter broke the glass out of his truck, I believe. I don't know if it's a Ford truck, what type of truck. I assume it's a very nice truck. He played in the NBA forever. He has like $100 million net worth or whatever. JR beat up his truck. He chased him down, caught him. You saw it on film. Beat the hell out of that guy. Beat the living hell out of that scrawny, whiny, little, anarchy-looking, just beat the hell out of him. Respect his privacy. We will ask him who the respect your privacy guy is. We will also talk about him not getting full hip into the kick. And when we will talk about the lack of explosion through the hip onto that kick there, JR. But I can't wait to talk to him. He did something I think that a lot of people were like, hey, those people are not for the good of all of us. They are not for the good of the social injustice. They are not good for the lack of equality. Those people are there with their own agenda, their own narrative. Because if you're allegedly there to protest for equality for all people in America, if you're there to protest against police injustice against the African American, then you go out and let's say you break the glass, you're a white person, and you break the glass of a black-owned business, and then you start a fire inside of it, and then you go and break the truck of a black-owned or from an African-American man. Are you not just completely battling against yourself at this point? Is that not exactly what you're doing? J.R. Smith caught the guy, beat him up, and said, get the out of here. And I'll tell you what, I think that is a narrative that I think everybody was feeling from the protest this weekend. It was like, hey, let's make sure we feel like we're at a point where we can go here. We feel like we can make some real change. This isn't always something that can happen. It doesn't feel as if it has in the past where some people are still against it, or some people, it feels like this is a time where everybody's like, yeah, you know what? We've all been through enough, have we not? We've been locked down in our houses. We got this coronavirus that's come out of nowhere. Now this cop wants to kneel on the back of this guy for 9 months. It felt like the people who didn't normally have compassion for things of this nature finally had compassion for it, because we're all kind of realizing that we're all living in the same world, same time. We have to be better for each other. And then all of a sudden, all this stuff starts happening. It distracts the messaging, and now we're back to square one. And I'll be talking to J.R. Smith about all of that. Can't wait. Also, got to talk basketball with him. There's some things that have happened in his basketball career. He's a champion. He's a damn champion. He's a legend. And I beat him in a golf tournament. I didn't beat him personally, but our team did, and it was a team event, so that's all that matters. Here's me walking onto the bus away from the course after winning the championship. You see J.R. Smith in the front. I was probably giving some sort of victory speech. He was up in the front. This is when our friendship was formed and bonded. As soon as I saw what he did yesterday, I sent him a message. Hey man, need you on the show? He said, you got it, right? I did not expect that. I want to let you know I did not expect that. But the fact that J.R. Smith's coming on, can't wait to chat with him. We will try to be a distraction from all the things happening in the world. We will talk about sports because there is some sports stuff to talk about. We will talk to you, 1-833-622-3331. We'll be answering YouTube questions, tweets, you name it. Let's have a damn day. And hopefully we all we'll be able to see a day where we all are on the same side in America. And I think that day is potentially coming soon, because whenever you all have to bleed together and go through some things together. This is just like in football. Whenever you're going through something together, it brings you closer. And I feel like quarantine from this coronavirus could be a potential equalizer and maybe like a unifier for people. It's like, hey, we've all been locked in our houses here. We've all been able to not do this, not do that. That hasn't happened. Maybe we all need to start caring for each other a little bit. I think we're almost there. All the boys are here. At Nick Moraldo, nice sunburn on his face today. You can't really see it because he's hiding it with a hat. How are you doing today, bub?
Pretty good, other than the sunburn, all things considered. I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, Mario Lemieux's statue got spray painted this weekend in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Tell you what, that did not make Yinzers happy.
That's how you know those people weren't from Pittsburgh.
Exactly. Well, and that's the rule. That's what's coming out, by the way, is a lot of these people that are getting arrested for. Now, granted, a lot of people are not getting arrested. So that's why I think people are seeing it as an opportunity, because they're not getting arrested. So there was people walking around Indianapolis just doing insane things, and that we unprepared as all hell. There wasn't enough police anywhere near the city to control what was going on in Indianapolis on Saturday night. But there was that guy that had the ski mask on with that baseball bat. There's no way they arrested him. He's gone. He just literally might have just walked right out of town with his baseball bat over his shoulder, and he might even had somebody take a photo of like the fire behind him and like people losing their mind because it was like job well done, like that type of thing. But Pittsburgh spray painting Mario Lemieux, can't do it. Can't do. I think that was when the National Guard got called. They touched Mario. they touched Lemieux. At Tone Diggs is here. Tone, you were at a wedding this weekend. I feel like you were just dancing your life away, had no idea anything was going on around you.
No, I was paying attention to it, but it was nice to finally get back to something normal. Like, you're only allowed 50 people, but it was still nice to, like, celebrate something other than being locked down and quarantined.
Yeah, it is. You know, we went golfing on Saturday or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, I hated it. I had a terrible time. But it was kind of a bummer. This weekend was a bummer, man. Like, and it's a bummer because I felt like we were about to really accomplish something as a society, and then the narrative just got turned to, all right, here we go. Let's turn on the news about 9 o'clock. There's just going to be a bunch of burnt down cities. But congrats to whoever got married. Hopefully they last forever. That's obviously the case. At Ty Schmidt, moving into a new house, new life up there in the middle of a quarantine. How are you?
Pretty good. A lot of yard work yesterday. I'm very sore today.
That a boy.
Very sore today.
You're about to get that dad
Ty?
strength.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pulling weeds.
Yep.
Pulling weeds.
I was pulling a lot of weeds.
Let's talk about somebody that probably should pull some weeds and maybe gets a little dad strength. On the phones, 1-833-622-3331 at Boston Connor right now, currently shirtless.
Big day for J.R. Smith fans today.
Oh, okay. So this is for JR.
The king of not wearing a shirt. I figured to honor him, I would also not wear a shirt.
Hey, J.R. Smith is a big get.
Oh, yeah.
I am so thankful he's coming on. At Evan Foxy's here. At Viva Lazito's here. Viva Lazito. Zito's face will be the first thing that J.R. Smith sees whenever he calls. I can't wait for Zito to give him like a, Mr. Smith.
How you doing, Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith, how's it going? Jason McAfee's here as well. And intern Mitt, who will be writing down the minutes at the end of the show. Great shoes today. Jeez Louise. This shoe collection.
I know.
Yeah, it's
Mitch,
next level.
Can you lift
Show
those
your
up a
shoes.
little bit? Can you lift those up a little bit?
Not the bottom.
Not the bottoms, Mitt.
Cross it over your knee. There you go.
That stuff.
He stinks.
He doesn't stink. He doesn't stink. He lost his phone this weekend.
Stinks.
No, doesn't
Yeah.
stink. He's 21 years old, man. What
Okay.
do you want from the guy?
Him for not to stink.
Says the shirtless man in a phone booth right now.
Yeah.
Who has a very fresh mustache, by the way.
And I have deodorant on, so I don't stink.
Oh, so he doesn't wear deodorant. That's why he
Oh,
lost.
yeah, he smells like a bag of balls, too.
Which bag of balls are you referring to?
I don't think I have to say.
Yeah. All right. Man, this weekend, though, we have a guy in our ear, Don. He's from Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. He led off our show. He gets in our ear like 2 minutes before the show, tells us like, hey, can't wait for this. How's his week? Gives us an update. He's like, LA's burnt down. LA was in it. Santa Monica, they were in it there for a little bit. Long Beach was a peaceful one last night, protest, by the way. So that's why, like, I just hope we can remember. We got to get to a break on radio, and then we'll do some YouTube questions during the break. But I just hope we remember that the messaging is still something we should very much pay attention to, just because of the stuff that happened on the alongside of it. That Christopher White live stream, I was in it. I felt like I was in the middle of it. It was beautiful. Our local news didn't cover anything that was happening in Indianapolis, not a single thing. They had a couple of people down there, but they were on the outskirts a little bit where they were allowed to be. I had Christopher White, man. I feel like he doesn't even know. I've spent a couple hours with him the last couple of nights. He is incredible at what he did. Mm-hmm. But that guy, the big white guy, ski mask on, bat over his shoulder, not talking to anybody. Crowd's going this way. He's walking this way. Just casual walk.
That was Mark McGuire.
And then just the world's burning behind. Like, because as soon as that's open, now what? Opportunists are like, okay, here we go. Now we're in. Then he just walked it off and then
Another
see you
one.
later.
Jeez.
Scumbag.
Unbelievable. Who is that person?
Yeah.
The worst.
It's kind of nice that we're in a woke culture now, because I think most of society can now separate the peaceful protesters from the people like you're talking about who are just there to cause damage.
And I think that's what I was covering. Like, that's what I was looking into all weekend. It's like, how many people are realizing that these are two very different groups of people? Because if you looked last night, whenever a lot of these protests were still going on or wherever, they were even looking at and this is quite a generalization, but it's real. A lot of the white dudes that had skateboards were a lot of the problem, right?
Yeah.
Since the beginning of time, by the way, you want somebody that does not like authority or whatever. It's those who are normally on a skateboard. White kids that are normally on a skateboard are like, hey, they've had some issues with somebody at some point if they are still adults and they're on skateboards, right? Mm-hmm. Now, granted, they might be Tony Hawk. If they're not Tony Hawk and they're not professional and they're just riding around on skateboards, if you see an older white on a skateboard, let's assume that person hates authority. This is how we're doing it. And they were out there just swinging those skateboards. And then last night you saw a lot of people, and even on Saturday night you saw some people be like, this is not, hey, we are not just trying to burn down the entire city. We're actually trying to make the city better right now. We're trying to enact real law in this city. We're trying to take away from the fact that they can just compound charges on top of people and then just keep them in jail and monitor people. We're trying to change that, actually. And the whole conversation now is going to be about how we showed up, we did this, and the whole city got burned down. It's kind of a distraction from the whole thing. Why do they always got to distract from things? Because they think we're too dumb to come together. We're not too dumb to come together. That's what we do here. We come together right now over me. Commercial break. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here. Hello, YouTube. How's it going? Hope life is good. June 1st here. Every once in a while, we like to dive deep into the most beautiful part of the internet, the YouTube comment section for some. It's pretty disgusting right now. YouTube question.
YouTube questions.
You're damn right. Let's get to it, Z.
From Luke, what was your thoughts on all this looting?
Think about how early in the game of YouTube Luke had to get there just to get Luke. You know what I mean?
Strong.
Think about how early Luke had to get it, because
There's many.
there's a lot of fucking Lukes out there. right?
Skywalker.
I mean, there's one. He's probably not on YouTube, but yes, that is.
You could see that being the Luke on YouTube.
Well, and that would be, by the way, probably who parents are naming their children after,
Yes.
if I had to guess. So what you said, 100% accurate. It was the person trailblazing Luke that led to the, probably because people fornicated while watching Luke Skywalker, you know. They procreate. They say, you know, we're going to name this kid Luke if it's a boy, and if it's a girl, we're going to name it
Leia.
Leia, of course, because that's the other one. She has Cinnabons on her head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what was the question again from Luke? Shout out to Luke, by the way, getting in there very early.
Thoughts on the looting? Basically.
Yeah, obviously looting's terrible. I mean, it's something that is not good for anybody, especially when you're coming out of a time where there's 2.5 months here where businesses weren't allowed to be open, so they're losing. They've already lost, and then they're losing even more. And I don't feel bad. I do feel bad. You shouldn't do it. But like the Dolce & Gabbanas and things of that nature, like whenever they get looted, it's not, I mean, that's a federal crime at that point because of how expensive all that stuff is, and it's not cool. But man, whenever you see like these family boutiques like getting run up on, like in Minnesota, there was a couple little stores, Indianapolis, there's a lot of little stores that are barely even surviving at this point, just trying to make it by, and they had to board up all their windows because the shit got blown up. That's the thing that I think is a problem. But I'll tell you what, the TJ Maxx here in Indiana got it twice. TJ Maxx got lit on fire twice and looted twice. And I watched a second time on that Christopher White guy's stream. He was across the thing, and there was people inside grabbing luggage and shit, walking around. And he was like, oh, they are back in the TJ Maxx. And then cops are coming. He backs up on the other side. Cops went around the TJ Maxx. So so all the people that were like grabbing things in the TJ Maxx, it would be nice to just, I wish they had that on camera where they were like, everybody stop, and they just turn around and it's all these cops that just have these rubber bullet things. It was an insane scene. Downtown looked like a war. Yeah. This weekend looked like a movie. I hope we come out of it on the other side stronger. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. I believe we have Jeff Passan joining us. Not Jet, but Jeff Passan joining us here in about 19 minutes. I've been doing a lot of booking of the show these days. You know, I shot my shot at Meek Mill last week. Then I shot my shot at Trevor Bauer. Guess what? Guess who's on the show tomorrow?
Trevor
Bauer. Trevor Bauer. So the only person that the shooting of the shot on the internet hasn't worked yet for is Meek Mill, and I assume that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
He'll see it eventually.
I offered him a free 8 bars for his next song.
He might want you to buy that Escalade first. That might be,
I'm not buying it. He's getting a not much used Bentley that is non-bulletproof. I mean, I feel like I offered up a pretty good little trade.
Yeah.
That bulletproof Escalade that Meek Mill's trying to sell for $200,000. I assume that thing gets what 1-2 miles per gallon?
Probably.
1-2 miles.
I assume it's pretty heavy.
Probably 1-2 miles per gallon. They'll see me rolling. They hating. It's bulletproof. Your bullets won't make it in. I can't wait for that. All right, let's talk a little bit of sports here. The MLB, Jeff Passan, who might be joining us here in 17 minutes, depending on his answer to the text that I just sent him. The MLB Players Association has made their counter proposal to the MLB. Now, if you do recall, the MLB made a proposal to the MLBPA that was basically, not only are we prorating the contracts because it's half the amount, now we also want a 50-50 revenue split. And then all the players are like, well, excuse me, we already took one pay cut. Now the 50-50 revenue split, now you're trying to put a salary cap on. Our game isn't about a salary cap. The players said that if there were $1 million to be paid $1 million, they would make $443,000 or something like that. And that's pre-taxes, so then go ahead and count it out. It's like 200 and some. So the players obviously want to a point from a business standpoint, not a human standpoint, right? The players, I would assume, deep in their soul, understand like, hey, if we were to play baseball, it'd be good for our country right now. If we were to play baseball, it'd be great for the league right now. If we were to play baseball, we could be a distraction to the niche group, very small group of people that are diehard MLB fans. Ain't that right, Ty?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Very tiny little group that is diehard MLB fans. Ain't that right, Ty?
Yep, that's right.
More than we give credit to.
I think so. I don't think so. Excuse me.
No, you don't think there's more than that we give credit to?
Oh, no, I do. Yeah, I think there's a little bit more people that would really, really care if the baseball season got canceled than we might believe.
But the MLB players were like, listen, we understand all that, but we have no idea how many throws we got on this elbow. We have no idea how many swings we got on this, by the way, but I don't know how many swings we have on this shoulder. So the players are like, not only do we have to think about, we're taking a prorated pay cut, which by the way is the right move. I think that's smart business. Then you want us to do this. And then their collective bargaining agreements up in 1 year from now, if they already tried to put a salary cap on this thing, that changes baseball immensely against the players, not for the players, because now the low bottom feeding teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates, they potentially are the reason why the teams like the Yankees and the Angels won't spend $400 million because they won't be able to per players, because the Pirates would have to agree on the salary cap as well. It'll just become the players don't want to do it. So the MLBPA sent back another proposal. They want 100 and some games. They said it'll be done by October 31st, and they want the right to opt out of the season for all players and potential deferral of salaries if 2020 postseason were to be canceled. Not 100% sure what this means. The right to opt out by the players is definitely going to be something that's not going to pass, because in a contract, if one person has the right to opt out and the other person doesn't, normally that's going to be quite a talking point. It's like, okay, so you guys can say no, but we can't say no. For instance, what if all the big time players who already have enough money want to opt out? Okay, so now the MLB says that they're going to lose money anyways if they end up playing, but they're playing now without the star players and stuff like that. Do you think the MLB owners would be like, well, I want to be able to pull out then if they're doing it? It's just never good. That's just not how business works. So I think the MLBPA sent this thing over knowing that the MLB was not going to be able to take it. There's rumors that there's owners already trying to cancel the season to save themselves money. The MLB and the MLPA have to come to an agreement within the next week, and it feels as if they are nowhere near in agreement. And the baseball people that I've talked to say, hey, this is bad for baseball. If this season ends up getting canceled or something of that nature, baseball is not going to be in a good spot. And I'll say this, I only watch Home Run Derby and the World Series. So I'll miss 2 viewing activities. I don't think it's that big of a deal to the MLB if they miss one season and just move on to the next one. I honestly don't see what the big deal is. Everybody in baseball is like, oh, this will be catastrophic for baseball and things of that nature. It's like, you could have told me we're already past baseball season. I would be like, yep, just COVID-19 got it. Unfortunately, MLB, but that's not the case, I guess. It's just, everybody's saying it could be over. Why is that, Ty?
From my assumption is that if they don't play this year, so you're losing all that money, and then like you said, the collective bargaining is up again next year. Like there's a chance that without them making any money this year, what's stopping the players from striking next year? And then you have 2 years where you didn't play any games. I mean, most leagues, I assume that's just catastrophic. You can't come back from that if you go
financially or fan wise.
Both, I think. I mean,
if it's financially, so Dominique Foxworth said this on ESPN. And it was kind of a clever thing, but it was real. It's like, hey, if you own a team, just like if you own a business, that's not sell the team. Like if you own it, you can't afford to do the prorated salaries that you already agreed to and in contract, in writing, you already agreed to in the prorated thing. Just sell the team if you can't afford it. And that's kind of tough to hear, especially to a billionaire or 100 millionaire or whatever who just can't afford an MLB team anymore, and they're just raking it like the Nutting family for the Pirates or whatever. But they said that they lose less money if there isn't a season, right, than if they were to play the season with this particular setup. Man, there's no way they get a deal done. And I don't think it's that catastrophic. I think if baseball was to come back next year, same time, same place as they normally do, everybody would be like, oh, baseball's back. Almost like a bigger celebration, because they're like, remember last year, baseball didn't happen because that bitch COVID-19 came through and knocked it out. I don't think it's that catastrophic. Now, if they don't negotiate a deal for the new CBA and the players do strike again, I mean, how many years can you survive if you don't exist? But they still have the infrastructure. They still have the diehard fans. They're still going to be selling hats. I don't know if it's that big of a deal. And I could be completely wrong here, but I don't know if it's that big of a deal, because I think a lot of people like me don't even know that baseball's happening when baseball's happening, aside from a couple highlights that we see on ESPN every once in a while.
What stood out to me in the players' proposal was that 114 games, and if you start June 30, if you have all of July, August, September, and October, what is that, 120-ish days? 114 games in 120 days? That's what baseball is, though, isn't it? They normally have
like 2 days off a week. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean that is no days off. In 4
They might
months.
do double headers though.
They did
Yeah.
say that. They
There's
were
a lot of
kicking
talk
that
about
around.
double headers because they're thinking there isn't going to be a lot of fans anyway, so not really worried about the timing of the thing. They're saying they're going to be doing potentially a lot of double headers.
sense.
That expedites that
Yeah.
whole process, right? Then you can probably get a day off in between them. That still feels like a lot of baseball for these guys.
Oh yeah, a lot of baseball. Like the amount of injuries, I would imagine would skyrocket.
Well, that's why they're expanding rosters too,
Yeah.
to make for more depth and stuff like that.
This all has to get done by the end of the week, though.
Yeah, because if they want to start June 30th, I believe I saw a pass and say that
3 weeks, right?
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's this week.
Sorry, I had to change out my batteries.
No, that's
happens.
You see what happens here? I mean, this is NASCAR pit stop. You know what I mean? Got to do it.
I think you are right though in the sense that like if it comes back next year, like people will just be like, okay, but
might be more excited.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody is like, oh, this is going to be catastrophic for baseball. This is going to be bad for baseball. And we'll talk to Jeff Passan about it here in like 10 minutes. I'd assume he's thinking that because he's so deep in the baseball world. But I think if we go to a high level, if we look from a broader sense down, I think there's a lot more people that are understanding for things either getting moved or potentially postponed or canceled just because the entire world has been that way. So it's like, yeah, I guess losing out on the paychecks would be their thing, and it'd be cool to watch another world. I enjoy the World Series. Like, I think that's awesome to watch. I think baseball playoffs are cool to watch. But I think a large majority of people, if you don't live in New York City where the Yankees are, I guess the Mets are there too, but
they stink.
easy.
They do.
They know they stink.
Yeah, they do.
But they still have a diehard fan. If you're not in New York, if you're not in LA, if you're not in Chicago, I guess with Cubs fans, they're a big deal.
Yeah,
But
Boston.
But
Oh, yeah,
aside
big
from
deal.
that, I think they're much more. They might be even more regional than hockey at this point. Honestly, I don't know a lot of people that care about baseball that don't live in those big cities, and that could be 100% my ignorance. But I think if it was to come back next year, people would be like, okay, baseball's back. Here we go. Let's do it. And the Astros would be pumped up about it.
Oh, yeah.
They're the ones that are happiest about this entire thing. What were you going to say about the Tigers, Foxy?
No, not about the Tigers, but especially when we're going to have NFL, NHL, and NBA all at the same time. Take a seat, MLB, just for once.
And AFL.
Yeah, and AFL,
yeah.
excuse me.
AFL in the early morning. Then you got the NFL, you got the NHL, you got the NBA. I mean, this is going to be a tough time to get in where you fit in if you're
Yeah.
MLB to begin with. And can't sell tickets. I guess you can still sell hats. I don't see why it's such a potential catastrophe. But I could be completely wrong.
Well, I
obviously.
just think optics-wise, if all those other leagues play and go off without a hitch, you can't be the only major professional sport that doesn't play at all.
You might, your loyal diehard fans would be furious that you guys couldn't figure it out.
For sure.
And I could see how that could potentially be detrimental because your loyal diehard fans are the ones that are buying tickets. Those are the ones that are watching. That's why it could be catastrophic.
Exactly,
I think what they should do if they miss a year, and we've been saying this from jump, change the rules, change the rules so you get me involved there. To get the, not just me, but I'm talking about the casual spectator. Like, hey, if they miss a year and they come back next year and they're like, hey, want to let you guys know, we have allowed for these particular baseball players to utilize performance-enhancing drugs up until this particular point. So come watch our big baseball whacker guys in a stadium near you. Every night could be a home run derby. I think I would watch. But if it's just a year off, I could see how the diehard fans would be so disappointed with Rob Manfred, who has already, in the last couple months, called the championship trophy a piece of metal. You could see how the diehard fans would turn the corner on you, and that's where you make most of your money.
Those middle of the pack fans, though, you might think that if there isn't baseball for a year, that they actually give them a chance to miss baseball, and then they come back and actually want to be, a bigger fan the next season.
Hey, if you love something,
Gotta let it go.
why is that, Connor?
Something about coming back.
I don't know what it is either. So
I don't
like if
believe
it's
it
meant
either.
to be,
It's meant to be,
if it's meant to be, but we should have flipped it to your love will be stronger whenever that son bitch eventually flies back.
There it is.
That's what it is. And that's what baseball should do. 33 minutes after the hour, got to get to another break. We will call Jet Passan during the break. Jet Passan. ESPN MLB Insider to talk more about this. I guess we should have talked about NBA before the Jeff Passan because we're about to do more MLB. But we got J.R. Smith.
Yeah,
I was
there you go.
saving the
JR.
NBA talk
Yeah.
for 11 o'clock with J.R. Smith. That's what I was doing. I'm a host of a show.
Elite hosting.
Wow.
You give a little appetizer.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, be a friend, tell a friend. J.R. Smith joins us in about 24 26 minutes. Good math, Pat. 26 minutes. We're back on the other side. We'll take some phone calls during the break at youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. This is that show. I'm not sure why you listen or watch. Cheers. Okay. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Let's go to, we got a couple calls from Pittsburgh here. Let's go to Gino in Pittsburgh. What's going on, Gino?
Hey, how's it going, Pat?
I'm fantastic, Gino. How are you, pal?
I'm hanging in there. I'm watching these videos of the looters stealing from other looters. I don't know if you've ever seen that video, but it's pretty hilarious of how low of IQ people have. And if anyone ever touches the Mario Lemieux statue, I'm hunting them down.
Good news. They already touched it. So go put on the camo, bub. I don't know how you're going to find them.
I know.
The looters stealing from looters,
Sharon.
by the reason why Gino brought this up from Pittsburgh, because the looters stealing from looters was happening in Philadelphia. So that is why he brought that up. Philadelphia, all the way up until last night, and I don't know how it is this morning. It is still very much wide open in Philadelphia. T's and P's to everybody in Philadelphia. It's a wild scene over there. What do you want to talk about, Gino?
Gino actually did just hang up.
I would have too.
He's going to look for the guy.
I think you heard about the Lemieux statue.
If somebody touches that Lemieux statue, I'm going to fucking hunt him down.
The police put out.
Hate to
photos
break
of
it to you,
Wes.
pal. They did. He's
The
out
irony-
there.
The irony of the whole thing with the Lemieux statue is they painted a hammer and sickle on a piece of the statue, which is obviously the symbol for Russian, Soviet Russia and communism. If those guys would have seen what Lemieux did to the Soviets in '87 at the Canada Cup,
They would have been so much more angry. Fucking Lemieux, are you kidding me?
18 points in 9 games. Come on, guys.
Second greatest hockey player of all time. Mario Lemieux, Super Mario.
Let's go, Pens.
What was that?
What was that?
Let's go, Pens.
What was that?
Pumped for hockey to get back. Ready to root for these Pittsburgh Penguins.
No. Do not root for our
Fake
fucking
fan.
What do you mean?
Fake fan.
Do
No.
not root for our team.
What do you mean?
What do you mean, rooting for him down there in Hockey Town?
Yeah, Hockey Town.
No. That's not Hockey Town.
Yeah, it is Hockey
Oh,
Town.
no.
So the fans of Hockey Town root for other hockey
Yeah, you
fans?
can't
Is
do
that what
that.
you're trying to say then?
I'm a fan of hockey. Hockey's back, baby. Let's go, Pens.
Hockey, the COVID Cup, Gary Bettman came out and said, this is how we do it. The players have not agreed to it business-wise, but it feels like it's definitely going to happen. It's the COVID Cup. They're going to play a tournament and all this stuff. Top 4 seeds play a round robin and figure out what they're seeded and all that shit. It's going to get figured out. One team that's not in is the Detroit Red Wings because the Red Wings haven't been good at hockey since face masks.
No. We're gearing up.
Since face masks.
Yep.
Since they created since the blue thing used to trail the puck, that was like 10, 15 years ago. That was the last time the Red Wings were good.
Foxtrack,
Yeah, they had a good time there. So now you're a Penguins fan because we're going to go win this whole
Jeez.
fucking thing?
I'm a Penguins fan for the COVID Cup. The boys in Detroit are gearing up for the Stanley Cup next year, all right? But for business reasons, it's good to be a Penguins fan, baby.
Could sniff you coming from a mile away.
I believe actually, was it the Pens that killed the Red Wings? That was the last time that
Oh,
they were
yeah.
in a Stanley
Oh,
Cup run.
I actually will say they did. It was good. Hey, a good couple series there.
Oh, you can't
3
beat him,
years in a
Jordan.
row.
You can't beat him, Jordan. Hey, Fox.
Baseball's a lot. Baseball's dead. And they could be doing what the NHL's doing. Look at us talking about the NHL.
Look at us.
Hockey has been getting talked about a lot in a positive light, saying, hey, good job. The MLB, it's like nothing but gloom and doom. Jet Passon joins us on the other side. I just sent you his Apple ID. Did you get his new Apple ID? Because he sent me an email at Yahoo and said, call me at my Apple ID. And I said, a fucking Yahoo account?
That's Jet.
You shamed him into making a new Apple ID.
Probably. No, he said it was the wrong one. I assume he uses the
what I
Yahoo
would say,
account
too.
as his full time. By the way, hilarious concoction of letters and words for his Yahoo account. I'm not going to put it out because I don't fully remember it. But the Yahoo account, he told me was his FaceTime account. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. And he was like, yeah, dude, I worked there for like 15 years or whatever. And then I just got a, oh shit, wrong one. It's this one. I'm like, oh, never could have guessed, Jet. Unbelievable. I love Jeff Passan, though. I absolutely love
He
this
is
man.
the man.
I love this man. He makes baseball interesting, which I'm here for. And he'll be joining us on the other side. Let's talk about baseball. And then we got Trevor Bauer on tomorrow. Let's talk Trevor Bauer. Let's talk Trevor Bauer about baseball tomorrow.
Bauer outage.
Big baseball show.
Big baseball show. Shout out to NASCAR, too, by the way. Chase Elliott doesn't run fucking Logano into the wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no chance.
Chase Elliott doesn't run Logano in the fucking wall. Keselowski doesn't have another win. Probably Logano dancing around with the championship down there in Bristol.
Hey, that's Bristol, baby.
Unbelievable. Chase Elliott's doing that. Damn it.
That's Bristol, baby.
Keselowski's been hot in the number 2 Miller Lite car, though. Look out.
Look at. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, Monday, June 1st. Big baseball show. Big baseball show. Mm-hmm. Joining us now, had a big weekend, ESPN MLB insider, Jet Passon.
Jet!
What's going on, Jet?
Oh, no.
Oh, you're muted,
Jet.
Jet. Oh, no.
Classic Jet.
Oh, no, you're muted, Jet. Jet, you're muted.
Jet.
Oh, no.
There he is.
There it is, Jet.
There he is. Jeff Passon, I want to let you know, I was got this weekend by Jet Passon. I will show you how I have receipts. Diggs fires that thing into the group text, says big baseball news. I see your beautiful face, your name, bang, click on it. Here we go. Something I didn't think was going to happen got happened in that tweet, which was why I should have known. They said that the MLB and the MLB PA come together for an agreement. That seems like that's nowhere in sight at this point. Am I accurate in saying that, Jeff?
You are very accurate in saying that. And the problem is at this point, the two sides are just so far apart and there's so little time if they actually want to get a season done that they have a lot. I mean, put it this way. If we're going to do like a football analogy, it's not like they're on the 1 yard line and they have 99 yards to go with a minute left.
Okay.
They are both like in their own respective tunnels and locked right now. And they are like, it's that far apart and there's no daylight, but there's also no time, which makes this so extraordinarily difficult.
Okay, so it feels like the players pitched 114 game season. I think their financial push is going to be, we just want our prorated contract. So that's why they're pushing for more games, because obviously with a proration of more games, you get more money. And am I accurate in saying that? And are the team owners going to give in on that at all?
I think the team owners actually may be more likely to give them the proration or close to it. I don't know if full proration is a possibility at all, but close to it, the fewer games they get. I almost wonder if the clubs are going to come back to them and say, you know what, forget 114 games, forget 82 games. Let's do 65 games or something like that at a higher salary. But the problem with that is if you're doing a shorter season, either you got to start it in early July and do your playoffs in like mid-September to mid-October, or you run the risk of running into the NBA, the NHL, soccer, the NFL, and college football. And you, like, these months that baseball is used to having all to itself suddenly have become the domain of all of these other sports. And there's the possibility that it's going to get absolutely cannibalized.
They're going to get lost in the shuffle for sure. And the conversation around baseball people, you, big baseball guy, Jet Passon, big baseball guy, Ty Schmidt, big baseball guy, is that this could be catastrophic for the league if they don't have a season. I don't see it that way. I don't think it'll be that catastrophic. I think a lot of people in America, because their attention will be taken by other sports, including golf too. You forget golf is even going to be in there, and the AFL. I think if they were to come back next year, I think people would be like, oh, baseball's back. Like, it's almost like a more of a celebration. How much money do the teams lose if we don't have a season? And is it looking like that's probably going to be the case?
I mean, the teams say that they're going to lose $4 billion if there's not a season.
That's a lot of billions.
It is a lot of billions. And the thing is, though, they're also claiming that they're going to lose possibly even more money if they play and if players get their full prorated salaries. So this is just, you know, here's the problem, Pat. And I understand your sentiment here, just bang the season all together, come back next year, fresh start. But if they lose the season this year, they didn't lose it because of fear over coronavirus. They didn't lose it because of civil unrest around the country. They lost it because they couldn't figure out how to split up some billions of dollars, man. And that is the thing that sticks in the craw of people for a long time. If amid this catastrophic unemployment, if amid all of the issues that we've got in the country right now, something that could unify people, could give people something to look forward to, does not happen because they can't figure out the money part of it, I think that is the kind of thing that long-term absolutely crushes baseball in the minds of fans out there who have been looking forward to it coming back.
I think that's the diehard fans, right? The diehard fans that go to games, the diehard fans that watch every single game, the diehard fans who buy the merch. Those fans seeing every other league get done, every other league be able to figure out the NBA with bigger superstars, the same amount of cash basically being thrown around, they figured it out. The NFL, they're able to figure it out. NASCAR's able to figure it out. Motocross is able to figure it out. AFL is able to figure it out. Golf's able to figure it out. But for some reason, the sport that I spend my time loving, and people bash me for liking the MLB because it's a boring sport that's too long and not exciting enough, but it's my thing. If they're the league that can't figure it out, I could see how that person could be very upset for a long time.
And Pat, if you lose your diehards, who do you have?
Bingo. It's why if you're a bar, you need regulars, pal. Let's go ahead. Let's get the regulars in here.
That's right. And here's the thing. Right now, the regulars are being fed well liquor when they're asking for top shelf stuff. No, they are, and they're looking at this right now, saying, "Okay, guys, enough messing around. Like, we just want baseball back on the field. Please figure this out, not just for the sake of yourselves, but for the sake of the fans who need something. Like, I'm sorry." 2020 sucks right now.
That's pretty bad.
Every regard possible, 2020 has been a mess. All we want is a little bit of baseball. We're not asking for too much here, guys. We're asking for you to bring the game back onto the field so for 3 hours a night we can divorce ourselves from this reality of suctitude and go into this alternate universe where life is okay because there's a game being played. And I hope that the owners, in their thirst for money, power, and wealth, I hope for the players in their thirst for what they feel is equitable, which is, in this case, also money, power, and wealth, somehow find a happy medium where they can give the people what they want. That's what you're here for. Give the people what they want.
That's not going to happen with the owners, though. We know that. Look at the Nationals owner. The Nationals owner is worth $5 billion or something like that and just cut the paychecks to the minor league people who didn't even have a season already losing money. Now the Nationals players are like, okay, we'll put a fund together to pay our guys, I guess. It's just anytime you deal with those billionaire business people, they don't have a single ounce of not all of them, obviously. There's different billionaires and things like that. But a large portion of billionaires in the business world get up there because they show no empathy to any. I have no idea how they do it. I have no clue how it exists. I have no clue how you sleep at night. I guess, well, you sleep on a comfortable pile of money. It still doesn't make any sense to me. So what are the next steps that we got, Jeff? What are the next steps here? Because the MLBPA, the proposal that they just sent over to the MLB was an answer to a proposal that the MLB sent over, but they said, we're not even talking about that. Will the MLB do the same exact thing that the MLBPA just did and said, you know what, let's not try to adjust what you just said like you just did to our MLB proposal. We'll send you back another one. Are those the next steps, and are those currently happening right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's conversations going on right now, and I think the baseball season, Pat, hangs in the balance this week. It really, to me, depends on how the owners respond to this proposal, because there were a couple of things in this proposal that were little tiny gives that the players had, not big ones that are going to get a deal done. I mean, it's outright rejected already. But the two things that I saw, number one, players were not on board with the idea of expanded playoffs when MLB floated it back in February, or when it was first reported back in February. You know, expanding from 10 to 14, you're going to get, this playoff selection show. There's all sorts of different elements to it. Players were not down with that. players in this proposal said not only will we accept expanded playoffs, but we will take it for 2 years now.
Oh, look
So
at that.
that's
Hey.
Good guys.
So that's a little give.
scratch our back.
I think the second part though is the most important one. And from the start, I've been talking about the potential path to a compromise being through deferred money. Now, deferrals are something that happen in baseball all the time. Max Scherzer, deferred money. Chris Davis, deferred money. Scott Boras, the author of so many of these big contracts,
Bobby Bonilla.
and somebody who has been an integral part of these negotiations, is like the king of deferred money in baseball. So players have no leg to stand on about deferred money being a bad thing. What they offered in this deal was, if there is no postseason this year, if because of COVID-19 the playoffs get canceled because the second wave comes and hits, then the owners can get $100 million back from players, and that's funded by guys whose salaries are $10 million or more per season.
Look at this.
So
This feels like
that money would be taken and deferred until 2021 and 2022. Now, it's a conditional deferral. It's a tiny deferral compared to the money that we're talking about here. But what it does is it opens the door for discussions about further deferrals, and that is where progress might get made.
Well, Jeff, I'll tell you what. Anytime we need baseball information, your big brain and your fake bookcase are the ones that deliver it to us, and we can't thank you enough for that.
My big brain. It's not the only big thing you got here.
Big bat! He's got a big bat! Ladies and gentlemen, legend Jeff Passan. Please keep us updated, brother. Thank you, Jeff.
Boys,
Jeff.
I love that man.
The best.
Good dude.
I love that man. He was not happy with me retweeting Jet.
Oh, it wasn't your fault. But
It wasn't your. Well, kind of. I mean, I could have, fact checks every single thing that gets texted in the group text, which is a sanctuary for information, by the way, which is basically a place where you only send information in there if it's been fact checked 2 to 3 times, because that information is liable to get talked about on the show, on the Twitter, or just in everyday life that's potentially being recorded. And whenever you send something in there that's just completely wrong, you're setting everybody up for failure. And sometimes when you're drunk, blacked out at a wedding, things like that can happen. Ain't that right, Diggs? You want to talk to the crowd, or
I wasn't blacked out
at that point, but you were on your way?
But normally, fake accounts aren't so that the at will be something completely different. That was at Jetpack. That was close.
Very close.
And it was already over 2,000 retweets, so I just...
No, it was not over 2,000 retweets, because I saw where it was at when I put it out. And I was like, this thing's about to go. And then I looked back at it, and it was gone. And then everybody screenshot me like, Pat, did you? Pat?
I made sure everyone, as best I could, knew it was my fault.
Paff. Good one back there, Connor. Shirtless Connor, not a bad day back there. You know what I mean?
Path. Still got the drums.
All right. So we have 8 minutes until J.R. Smith. Has he answered anybody and said he's definitely coming? Jeff Passan, there's a lot to unload there. We should talk about that. They're not going to get a deal done.
No chance.
It doesn't feel like they're going to get a deal. That Nationals owner telling the minor league people, like, yeah, we're not paying you anymore. We're going to cut the payment even more, blah, blah, blah. And the Washington Nationals player being like, okay, we'll put up some of our money for it. Which, by the way, good leadership by the team. Good stuff like that. But seeing a billionaire do that, especially in this particular time, and he's an owner, and he's part of this decision-making, it feels like that's probably a conversation that's happening amongst other owners, too. It's like, hey, our bottom line is not going to be moving that much. These players want us to move this bottom line. We've been living pretty good at this particular standpoint of life. We're going to keep it here, and we have to cut whatever we have to cut. And I don't know how they do it. I don't know how people do that. I don't know how you don't have compassion for folks and things of that nature in the situation in the world that we're currently living in. With Jeff talking about the world is basically upside down right now, how you don't have compassion potentially for people that have put their lives on the line for you and your business and things like that nature. I don't know how you do it. But somehow, some of the people that make it to the top have this ability to just be like, I don't care. Let me go ahead and shove that down and never see that again. Let's do it.
And for the owners, too, like he was saying, it's a point of discussion to at least start. But if they're going to lose $4 billion, they're going to piss on that $100 million concession that the players are willing to give. Like, they're going to be like, okay, well, actually, we need it to be like $1 billion. Like, there's just no way.
This feels as if this shot clock is ticking down on the baseball season. Will people care? Probably not.
I might walk into traffic if there's no baseball season this year.
Don't do that.
I've been looking forward to this. The Yankees spent a lot of money in the offseason.
Oh, yeah, they got that pitcher.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Garrett Cole.
Sorry, Ty.
You'll see him next year in a pinch.
LPR,
Hey,
baby.
what's wrong with 2021?
Plenty of
Ty?
rest.
No,
Plenty of rest.
we need you pay a guy $400 million. We need as
They're not
many
paying
years
him
as
for
we
him.
can.
J.R. Smith joins us on the other side. Let's get excited about conversations about everything happening in this world.
Let's get it. Let's go. Dream house is a tour bus. Scream loud that you knew us. Deep down on the new plug. You ain't about to get too dust. Pete's frown when they crew scrubs. Sweet sound from the two subs. Beats loud as a move, bruh. Lead the crowd like, ooh, what? Long hair on the big body. 210s, both sitting shoddy. Crack a fit, start getting rowdy. Blowing nose, looking like an Audi. It's Uncle Sam without the taxes. Crowd stands up, I keep them loud. I made this beat, you hear it smacking? Who is third? Hand me a nap. You probably wasn't expecting this. Expected this?
Good morning, beautiful people. It is Monday, June 1st, and this is hour number 2 of the Pat McAfee Show. We'll lead off this hour the same way we led off the first hour, in the fact that I, like much of the world, spent this past weekend watching what was happening in our country, and I very much understand how powerful the protest was and the unison of everybody. It feels like George Floyd's murder has been something that has unified everybody. And now, granted, there's always going to be the idiots, the outliers. Those people do not represent our society or our culture, but I feel like George Floyd's passing and the way it was captured on tape and everybody watched it, even the tone deaf people saw that and said, you know what, 2020, we've all been through enough. We've all been locked down. There was a alleged virus popping off around our country where you couldn't even look at people and you're potentially dying. It was kind of an equalizer, a unifier, and people saw what happened to George Floyd for 8 minutes and 41 seconds and say, you know what, we're not going to be a country that's going to let that happen anymore. Those protests were not just regional, citywide, those were countrywide. And then all of a sudden, those protests turned into riots and violence. And I believe the people that came in and, I don't want to say rode alongside of these powerful movements in this potential pivotal paramount moment in our society, in the way that police injustice and equality for people of color, I feel like it was really getting close. And then everybody got distracted by the cities getting torn down by people that were exploiting the opportunity and opportunists. And those people, we can never say we're with the people that were protesting and marching and trying to make real change in the United States of America. We have to keep those two separate. And I feel like we still have to ride the momentum that we had going into the weekend when we were all on the same side of things. And that was the fact that in 2020, this should be the year that, although everything sucks in 2020, there's a lot of suck in 2020. This could potentially be a silver lining where the world rallied and gathered on the side of George Floyd and said, hey, this isn't going to happen in this country anymore. But the people that exploited this opportunity, the people that had masks on and bandanas on, and they weren't marching and protesting. Instead, they were using their skateboards and bats and rocks and bricks and trying to tear down a city, not just our city, but every city in America, basically. I think that is potentially something that is supposed to distract us, but we won't be distracted. No. We will segregate the people that were taking advantage of the opportunity, people that were anarchists and just trying to tear down the world, away from the people that were really trying to make the world a better place. And in this particular batch, there was all walks of life, all economic statuses. You're talking about every single genre of our society was represented. And I hope we continue to ride with them and not the holes of asses that were exploiting the opportunity to do damage to our cities across our country. That was sad. It was sad. Happened in Indy, happened across the place. But I think it was also powerful knowing that the protesters were from everywhere. The protesters represented everybody. And it feels like for the first time in a long time, we are all on the same page. All the boys are here. At Nick Moraldo, at Tone Diggs is here. Ty Schmidt is here. Jason McAfee's here. At Viva Lazito is here. Evan Foxy's here. And a shirtless Boston Connor is on the phones. 1-833-622-3331. How you feeling, Connor?
I feel good, except for the fact that when Fox cut to his camera, you could see my big fat left tit. So what are you going to do?
What's that, dude?
That's true.
Oh my God.
See that?
Oh, yeah.
See that right
Side
there?
angle's not always good.
I mean, I told Foxy to be weary and stand in front of me, but here we are.
You've been on keto for quite some time at this point. So, I mean, you are looking much better than you were like a month ago.
Fair.
I think you should be proud of yourself. You're doing this in honor of the man who's going to be joining us here in a few moments.
Oh, yeah, J.R. Smith, probably the leader of the no shirt team. I'd just like to do a little tribute for him.
Yeah, even at the White House, President Obama gave him a shout out. Does JR have a shirt on yet? By the way, you win the NBA championship after being around the league and after going and playing in China, and then you become LeBron James's guy, and now you're in the middle of a parade in Cleveland where the entire state of Ohio is there. I'd take off my shirt as well.
Yeah.
He was holding a couple Henny bottles. I guess he doesn't even like Henny. He's more of a Jack guy. And whatever tickles your fancy, JR, can't wait to chat with you about not only your basketball life, but obviously what happened yesterday when he decided to make the decision I think a lot of people were thinking about while watching the television. One of these aggravators, little Caucasian destroyer, rioter, broke a window. I don't know if it was the back window, the windshield, a side window of J.R. Smith's truck. He then chased that person down and beat the hell out of him. Okay, couple kicks. He didn't get full hip through it. He didn't go full explosive. See, if I'm him, I'm looking for him to kind of get that leg and kind of turn that thing. You know what I mean? Kind of get a good little hip thrust in there so you can just follow along. He didn't do that. Maybe because he was just teaching a lesson. I would assume J.R. Smith athletic enough to really unload on that person if he wanted to. But it was real, though. That was a moment where not only did he get incredibly frustrated, but the rest of the world was watching. And I would assume if any time other than the current situation, a video like that is leaked about J.R. Smith, the entire world would turn against J.R. Smith. Oh, here's J.R. Smith again. Here's this, here's this. But instead, everybody watched that video and was like, damn right, because that person that was breaking windows of J.R. Smith, by the way, who's an African-American man who you're allegedly protesting for, but now you're busting out his windows and you're probably going through black-owned businesses and busting out their windows as well. So who are you really marching for? This person was taking attention away from the actual narrative that it should have been, which is, hey, now's the time to stop what we're doing in the way that we're doing it and make it better for everybody. That person was trying to do that, and guess what? You run up on J.R. Smith's crib and you try to hit his truck, he's going to walk you down and kick your ass. Oh. Minivan 2 is getting it. I mean, look at that little thing, too. Just
Great right.
that, by the way, the little anarchist Caucasian boy there, pretty quick.
Yeah.
JR ran him down. JR's probably in good shape. Is he going to be back in the league? Is JR Smith coming back to the league? He's been working out with LeBron and AD. They've been riding bikes around Los Angeles. He was a part of the protests in Los Angeles, I believe, earlier in the day before having to handle this anarchist nonsense that was happening on his street. Is J.R. Smith back in good? He's a good cameraman, too, by the way. Zito, you got to appreciate that, Zito. He's got
great lens on that camera.
He's got a good camera on there, good lens, marching for what he believes in. And then as soon as he gets home, somebody tried to turn the narrative, and he said, not up in here. I'm going to beat the hell out of you. Also, intern Mitt is here, fresh off a lake weekend where he lost his phone. Hair's looking good. Mitt, great to see you, pal. He'll be taking the minutes on the hour. Go ahead, Zito.
Nothing. I was just going to talk in your ear.
Yeah, but I'm in the middle of talking. You might as well just talk out loud. Everybody knows that JR is supposed to be on right now.
Oh, do you want to go on a break right now to maybe get the DM him again and give him a little...
So we're using a Zoom with him, right? So we sent him a link. Maybe the link didn't go through for him.
Maybe, yeah, we'll resend it for him.
Okay, so let's go to a break. 7 minutes after the hour here. He has reposted the story on his Instagram, so he is up. He is ready for the conversation. I can't wait to talk to him. I think this is his first conversation since beating the hell out of Caucasian kid who busts his window out. Can't wait to ask him about that. The world that we're currently living in. Does he feel as if, with his boots on the ground during the protests in LA, did it feel as if we're potentially at a pivotal moment here in our country's existence where it's like, hey, let's go ahead and do this thing? And then also, you're an NBA champion. You're not retired, but you're not on a team. His exit from Cleveland was hilarious. The statement read, the Cleveland Cavaliers and J.R. Smith have figured out a way to no longer be in business together. And he just stopped showing up. He's the man. We're back on the other side with J.R. Smith, hopefully. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. You see that? Big baseball show or basketball. Big basketball. We don't have J.R. Smith on yet. I don't know what's going to happen here.
This might be my fault.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like I just gave him a wrong link or something. I feel this should be my fault.
But he hasn't. No, it shouldn't be your fault. By the way, could be anybody's fault at this point. We sent him a Zoom link via DM, which is where this conversation all happened. He has posted that he was supposed to come on the show. So here we go. I assume this is just a miscommunication. Maybe he's in the shower. Maybe he's in the shower.
You know it is.
Maybe
Number 2.
Well,
that's usually what it is.
I'm not going to come out and say it's 8:12 over there in Los Angeles. 8:12 is a time when you could potentially need to take a grumpy or two. You never ever know. Zito, you just let me know when he gets here.
Got it.
By the way, if he's here, as long as he's here in the next hour.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
That's all that matters. We got nothing but time.
Windows open.
Nothing but time here. While we got time, let's talk about the NBA, though. The NBA has discussed 4 different competition scenarios that I believe they're voting on Thursday. The one scenario would be a 16-team tournament, which has all the teams that would be in the playoffs already when the season ended before the quarantine. The top 4 seeds of each conference would compete in a round-robin style tournament to figure out who's 1, who's 2, who's 3, who's 4, and then everybody else would slot in and play. Then there was an idea pitched for a 20-team tournament with the 4 teams on the Western Conference that are very close to making it, having them play a play-in game to potentially get the last spot in the tournament. And then now there's been a pitch for a 22-team tournament to extend that 4-team play-in to make it a 6-team play-in, which I'm not 100% sure if everybody's down with, if they're not down with. I just know that their last alternative that they're pitching is 30 teams, 72-game regular season will be finished, and then a play-in tournament will happen. Let's assume that doesn't happen. Let's just assume it's either the 16, 20, or 22. I'm locked in for the 20-team tournament. Let's just do the 4 teams that are close, have them do a play-in, and let's get right to the action, and they'll be voting on that on Thursday. The NBA feels like a league that will get done as opposed to the MLB that does not.
With that little layout there, the 20-team playoff, that seemed to be the World Cup stages, so it's almost as if the 4 seeds in the Western Conference aren't actually playing games anymore. If they were to do the 20-team. The only play-ins were the 22-team
So
idea.
the 20-team would be a tiered system where the top seeds will have their own group, just like the World Cup, and then people get selected in, and it'll be a round robin. I don't love that.
No.
Let's just, because we already have March Madness. Right? Yeah, I get it. The World Cup is every 4 years, every other year for a Women's World Cup and everything like that. And I assume it is electric. But March Madness, you already have the blueprint on what it should be. Just do the March Madness thing. People love bracketology. People love when a team gets hot. People love a good Cinderella story, which could potentially happen, especially with the Nets if they get back Kevin Garnett and Kyrie Irving. I mean, maybe that'll be something. I just think the tournament style should be what it is. I just think it should be brackets. Let's go.
Do you think with the group stage, though, like that would give guys like Zion, like that gives him 3 games guaranteed,
which is good news,
right?
That's why they are doing this, because Brian Windhorst, legendary basketball information man on ESPN. Big Brian, he is, what's that?
Big Brian, yeah.
He was on ESPN. He's LeBron James' mouthpiece. He was on ESPN, and he said that they're doing these playing games and things of that nature so they can get Zion Williamson in. I'll tell you, after seeing Zion Williamson up close and personal, it makes sense why they want him in there. That dude could take off from the three-point line, I think, if he needed to. He could take off from a high school three-point line if he wanted to go dunk that damn thing, and he would. We need to ask JR about this, but will we get J.R. Smith on the show?
1,000%. At some point.
You're 1,000. We are currently 16 minutes behind on the potential.
I just tested the link too. It does work.
So the link is good.
I did it with my other laptop.
See, earlier today you blamed yourself just a couple seconds ago. Now you kind of had to double check, triple check a Zito production to see if it was your fault.
People are saying if he hasn't updated his Zoom, it might not work.
Oh no!
I guess there was a big update.
Why is Zoom doing that? Because the whole world find out about their app because of the whole quarantine thing. So now they're trying to catch all the glitches. They weren't ready for success. Was Zoom not ready for success? Can they not handle success? Or is this us not being able to handle success because we get J.R. Smith less than, 12 hours after a video surfaces of him beating the hell out of somebody? He's supposed to come on show. We can't get him on. Who's this on? Is this on? We'll blame Zoom.
He's on Zoom.
We'll blame Zoom.
Yeah.
It's not our fault. It's not J.R. Smith's fault.
Nope.
This is Zoom needs to figure it out.
Zoom.
Zoom. Let's do a phone call until we get there, because I got a lot of NBA questions, but it's like if we have a chance to ask a guy who's been in the NBA for 55 years, it feels like, who's been there, done that with everything, feels like he's the person to talk to. And I assume he's had conversation, by the way, with Bron when they're riding the bikes around the LA about how Bron feels about the whole thing. By the way, Bron, big part of the initiative of getting his tournament back because he's superstar on the court, saying, hey, we want to play. Me and Anthony Davis, we don't know how long we have together, but we do know last year we were getting hot. We would like to win this championship together and then get some more down the road. In replacement for J.R. Smith for the time being, let's go to Michael in Texas. Similar. What's up, Michael?
Hey, what's up, Pat?
Just hanging out. How are you, Mike? Just waiting for J.R. Smith to call, so can't wait to hear this conversation.
All right. My question is, how will the colleges deal with tailgates and stuff like that? Because I'm a college student, so I'm wondering how it'll be come around football season, tailgate season, stuff like that.
Who cares, Mike?
Not happening.
Mike.
Well, I don't know. I got a chance to see Georgia's tailgate down there at the SEC championship game. Pretty electric. I got a chance to go see NC State. They don't get enough credit for their tailgating. The NC State was awesome on those Thursday night games. I would assume, depending upon what's happening with the tickets inside the stadium, will be a direct narrative on what's happening outside the stadium. It just came out in Texas that outdoor stadiums are allowed to be at 25% capacity. I would assume that parking lots then will be at 25% capacity, and there'll probably be a way to separate and things like that, because I would assume there's some people that won't be able to go to a game unless they've got a pretty good buzz on, and I would assume tailgating is what you do there. But I think tailgating is probably the last thing that these colleges are thinking of, but it should be, because the experience of college football and the experience of football is a much bigger deal than just going to a game watching some pigskins get thrown around.
Well, and I don't think it's the sit. At least for from a Big Ten perspective,
he's on his way. Just got a DM.
Perfect.
On my way.
Let's go.
Here you go, JR.
We should go to another break, because we might just take him all the way through. Yeah. That's what we should do. That is very smart. Yeah, we'll go to a break right now, 20 minutes after the hour, and then we'll just take him all the way through. I don't know what JR was doing, by the way. Hey, maybe JR was icing up those knucks. You know what I mean? Because he got a pretty good one. I need to send him these nunchucks from Bird Dogs next time. Hey, listen, if any anarchists come and get your car again, I got some nunchucks for you.
Help you out.
This is a big deal. J.R. Smith joining us on the other side. Are we going to a break? Yeah? There we go, Jay. Jay, don't get so excited because J.R. Smith, Jay. Okay? Vacation Jay over here.
Yeah. So excited for JR. Doesn't even want to go to a break.
We have to go to a break, Jay, because we got to set this up for another, 5 minutes?
Come on, Jay.
J.R. Smith joins us in 5 minutes. Please, tell a friend, be a friend, tell a friend, take a grumpy, come back. We are conversating with legend on and off the court, NBA champion, 6th man of the year, J.R. Smith. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Monday, June 1st. I was told by Del Curry, Scottie Pippen struggles on a golf course, right?
Right.
I was told at that thing that I'm going against Scottie Pippen. The next day, match play, heads up, 1-on-1 Scottie Pippen. So we decide, okay, we could probably have a couple drinks, stay at the casino a little bit longer than we should.
Representing the NFL out of the Shoeless Golf Club of America, Pat McAfee. His opponent, representing the NBA, Scottie Pippen.
You know what I mean? This guy's got 6 rings. Yeah. He's a fucking Hall of Famer. But today he's going to play against me. And then I start seeing Scottie hit some shots that are just starting to come together. And I'm like, wait a fucking minute. I think I was lied to.
We were lied to yesterday. We were told Scottie Pippen was a terrible golfer. Bro, he's Scottie fucking Pippen.
Going in the back 9, I think I was down 1. We were really, we were battling. But I started making putts. And Scottie Pippen went ahead and got real hot. I mean, real fucking hot. I was down 3 with 7 left. And I looked right in the camera. And I go,
We're down 3 with like 7 holes left. Scottie Pippen's about to get this work.
Scottie Pippen from 190 yards out just fucking dunks it. Fucking boom, bang, and then walks up to the green, gets the ball, cameras on him, and he goes, Pippen ain't easy. Kidding me?
All right, down 4 with 6 left after Scottie Pippen just chips in from fucking 400 yards out.
I was fucking demoralized.
Pippen ain't easy.
By the way, best he's ever performed at golf, because I'm around, better teammate than Jordan.
Yep.
People forget. Oh, yeah, I told Dell, I was like, Dell, what the fuck you lying to me? He was like, well, I saw it yesterday. He was not great. And Greg Anthony told me, and I was like, Dell, he buried me, Del Curry. He buried me. He was like, hey, Pippen ain't easy.
Yes, baby, it's time to celebrate.
Taught him how to shotgun a beer after he had beat me. Obviously, I like teach him how to do it.
Yeah, put a hole in there. It might spread a little bit, so.
Yeah, so you're going to go here, and then you're going to open and flip up. Does that make sense? Congrats on winning the NBA a couple times, blah, 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 blah. And being an incredible golfer. Thanks, Paul. Cheers, man. Hey.
Damn.
Okay,
That's the
Scotty.
best Bud Light I ever had.
Hey, there's no stuck in here.
You right.
I'm trying to party like I'm packed. Mile High Club, I got the gummies in the back. You ain't never seen a bro kick it like.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, Monday, June 1st. Big basketball show. Let's get right to it. Joining us now is an NBA champion. He was a sixth man of the year, a living legend on and off the court. Last night, he displayed that while beating the hell out of an aggravator, a rioter, a destroyer who was trying to shape the narrative away from what the protesters were protesting. A man who protested himself this weekend for equality and against police injustice. Ladies and gentlemen, a man that I beat at golf, J.R. Smith.
Yeah,
Attaboy, J.R.
J.R.
Hey man, I appreciate you guys having me, man. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be on your show, man. I've been watching you since the Bahamas, and honestly, man, I'm so happy to see you transcended to what your show has become, and it's great, man. It's great to be a part of it, and I appreciate you guys.
JR, I can't thank you enough for joining us, man. I wanted to send out, because you followed me after that Bahamas thing, and I'm a big fan, so I followed you back. And there's you, by the way. I believe you're talking massive amounts of verbiage to me here while celebrating on the bus afterwards, but I didn't want to waste... I didn't want to shoot my shot and blow it. You know, I didn't want to be like, hey, JR, come on the show. So I had to wait until something electric and legendary happened with you. And because getting to meet you in person, you were such a cool dude, nice to everybody, literally nice to everybody. And then last night, obviously, video surfaces of you getting into it with somebody who was taking the narrative of a protest, in which I think was very powerful, and I think very a potential pivotal moment in American society, because it felt as if everybody was on George Floyd's side in this thing. Normally, that is not the case. Normally, there's some idiots that are like, well, let's see the whole video, let's see this. This was one where I think all of America, especially coming out of this quarantine, was like, hey, we all are on this side. 2020 is the year we say no more of this. And then these rioters and agitators got involved and almost started sending the narrative in a different direction, and you got caught up with one. What was your weekend like before this, obviously? And then let's talk about what happened before this video aired, and who the hell is the respect his privacy guy, because that guy's a legend as well.
Man, you know, it's crazy because I was at home, man. I'm a big I opened up my gaming company. I'm a big you know, gamer and stuff, and I was playing Call of Duty, and you know, I'm so in the Call of Duty, you hear helicopters, you hear the gunshots and stuff like that. So when my boy, one of my Jordan Clarkson, he lives down the street from me, he was like, yo, come outside, you see what's going on, cut the news on. I'm like, what? I cut the news on, and I take the headphones off, and I hear 4 helicopters surrounding my house. So I don't really, like, I didn't turn the news on yet that day, so I didn't really know what was going on. So I cut the news on, and this shit is going on at the corner of my house, like literally on the corner. So I get out and walk down, protest with some of the people. I hand out waters and take pictures and stuff. I got some dope ass footage, and it was just like it was so much love, and it seemed like so many people were unified at the time. And then, you know, you get to the scenes where you see people burning cars down, breaking in stores and shit, and it's just like, bro, like, I'm not for this. Like, this is not what it's about. This is not what it's for. Like, more than anything, when people see this on TV, and when they see people turning stuff over, knocking, like breaking shit, it's not going to give us a good light after this going forward. So it's not in my eyes, not helping the situation. Now, you want to peacefully protest, 100%, we can do that all day. But once you get to vandalizing people's personal property that has nothing to do with nothing, like, and 100%, honestly, I'm the only black guy on my block. I'm the only black person on this corner. So for you to randomly just thinking you're doing something for the people, that one black person who was able to get out the situation and move into a nice neighborhood and do all of those things that we aspire to do, you broke that person's window without even knowing. So it's like people are consistently doing stuff when you don't even know what you're doing it for or why you're doing it. You, out of all the people, 100%. Now, granted, if he would have seen me and seen somebody outside the car or outside the house or whatever, do I think he would have broke it? Absolutely not. It was just a random act of stupidness, and I give him that. But that ass whooping was a random act of stupidness on my behalf as well.
I don't think so, because I think the people that were exploiting this opportunity to take advantage of it to cause chaos, I think they were distracting away from a real movement that was happening in America. I said this earlier. Normally, whenever things like this happen, whether it's Ferguson or Baltimore or New York or Atlanta, and it happens too often, but normally when these things happen, it's regionalized, right? It's cities doing things. It's normally just one particular group of people talking. This particular time, because of the 8 minutes and 41 seconds, and because it became a national thing, and it became like
Look at Hong Kong. They're marching to Hong Kong and everything. Like it's going so like out of what we've normally seen in a positive way.
Yes.
So it's like it's just complete vandalism. It's so many like people in Minneapolis are doing like really sit down, giving speeches, lectures, and trying to educate people on what is going on and try to figure out a solution, not vandalize people's property and add on to the chaos to where you give a person a reason to shoot you or do something harmful to you. This man was down there for 8 minutes and 46 seconds for no reason. No, for no, what literally, like being taking the life from him, calling for his dead mother, and then we go out here and quote unquote trying to represent his name in a good way, and between tarnishing people's shops and like so many people have nothing to do with the situation. Like I was walking down Melrose, there's so many people from the Middle East and all these people who are immigrants who fought their way over here, who struggled to get out of their situation to come and try to provide and make a better life that we all strive for, are supposedly striving for, and we go out there and vandalize these people properly, breaking windows, stealing their stuff, and all of like. I seen this guy. He put everything into his store. This man was 70-something years old. Fortunately he's got kids and grandkids and all that, but insurance and all that. Oh, insurance will take care of it. Insurance shouldn't have to take care of it.
Yeah,
it shouldn't. We should be able to lock arms and stand in front of somebody's store and be like, no, this is not right. This is what we're protesting against. Being able to do stuff like this is not right.
Well, and I think the good thing about it is normally in the past, I think this type of thing where there's the looting and all that stuff and the windows getting broken that you're referring to, it happened in our city as well. Normally that would distract people from the message of what's happening. I think we are at a point though where people aren't getting distracted. And I'm saying that because when your video came out, normally black guy, rich NBA guy beats the hell out of a little white kid, right? Normally, the internet would be so excited to burn you down for this particular situation. Like J.R. Smith, idiot, makes a bad decision. Instead, the complete opposite happened. And that's why I have faith that America in 2020, somehow, some way, is stronger than the idiots. Because everybody saw what you did to them. White, old, young, Asian, Latino, Jewish, whatever. Everybody saw what you did to that person and was like, damn right. Like that is somebody I think that everybody saw as an enemy. And I think that's why that video was so important. And your response, by the way, follow-up response was even better. I do have to talk about one thing though. Your kick. We need you to get, you know what I mean? I don't know if you can see over my championship belt here, but your hip, we need to get the hip in. We need to get the hip around on that thing a little bit.
I was trying to go Bones Jones or Anderson Silva or something, but it wasn't. And you know what's sad? Because like after the first two kicks, I really got in. It really like in the third one, you could kind of see it. It wasn't that much emphasis on it because at that point when it happened, I seen red. And then when I finally snapped to and what was going on, I'm still like disappointed with myself, even though people say I shouldn't be. But it's just like, for me, I'm 34 years old. I have 4 little girls at home. You know, I don't want that image of regardless of the fact whether it was right or wrong. I don't want them to have that image of their dad being capable of doing that and doing something like that. Now, if something harms them or something like that, I want them to know that 100% my dad is going to protect me in all facets and everything. But I just never want my kids and
JR, I have to stop you there because your 4 daughters, right? You're fighting for their future. Technically.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? And that person that is vandalizing your window and vandalizing property is taking away from the message that is potentially helping your daughters in the future that we all want to see happen. So I don't think you should feel bad. Granted, it's not a good look, right? That's going to be something in 10 years where you might feel bad about. But I'll tell you what, in this particular room, we are going to look at that in 10 years and go, hey, you remember when J.R. Smith beat the hell out of that little anarchist punk? Okay, so I'm proud of you, to be honest with you. And I know that doesn't mean much because we've only hung out a couple of times, but I think watching that video, I was so proud because it was just such a cool moment. Now, let's talk about basketball, can we?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Let me cut you off. It does mean a lot to me because 100% my peers are people in a position to where we are articulating these kids' future. And
yes.
for your appreciation for what I do and people who watch you and understand that and the way you say is nothing wrong, I appreciate that because it's people who are younger generation who are still confused on what happened and need context on what was right and what is wrong. Because I still get mentions and obviously in DMs of, oh, that was messed up, you have insurance, stuff like that. But to be taught that is wrong, regardless of what that person did, the action that caused that reaction, that person was wrong. And that the message that we're, like you said, we're not going to get away from is the injustice. And that's one thing that, you know, I appreciate you for pushing and trying to keeping that good message alive.
Hey, no worries, because it's real. This isn't a race thing, okay? This is people against racists. And
Right.
that's the difference between this particular movement as opposed to the past movement. In the past, it was somehow deemed race versus race. Like, hey, if you stand with the folks in Ferguson or in Baltimore or in New York, like, this is a race versus race thing. Now it's like, hey, we're at the point where we've all been through so much with this quarantine lockdown. We've all seen the chance where it's like, hey, our world can be snatched up from us like this. It kind of is like a locker room. I talked about how a locker room opened my eyes to a lot of people that I would have never met. It put a face on a lot of different hoods from around the country, and you become a lot more understanding once you meet people and talk to them. It's kind of like how this time everybody has kind of felt of like, hey, you know what? We're in this thing together. This isn't race versus race anymore. This is race versus racist. And hopefully we'll be able to eradicate that from our society. And I think we're there, even though the holes of the ass tried to ruin that. And one of them just so happened to catch a couple rights and a kick from J.R. Smith. Last thing before we move on from the video, who was the respect his privacy guy? That guy you need to keep around, I think. That's
That's my guy, man. That's my guy, Dar from Julan in New York. He owns a couple of restaurants. He really looked out for me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was like, well, personally, I wish you would have got the hell out of the way so we could. Okay, let's talk basketball. That guy right there, Darv, legend of a man right there. By the way, anytime you have a friend who's trying to block cameras from shooting you doing something that could be perceived as negative, you got to keep that person around. Shout out to him for being a friend. Let's talk basketball now. We saw you on bikes riding around the city with Bron and AD. We know you're good friends with LeBron. You aren't retired, but you're not currently in the NBA. What is the future looking like for J.R. Smith? The NBA is better with you in it. We all believe that.
I appreciate it, man. It's been a roller coaster because I've been, like I said, I've been in the league 15 years, and being since coming out of high school, this is all I've known. As a man, as a kid, I've literally grown with this. People call it a job or whatever, but for me, it's a lifestyle because just the basketball is my life, and to not be a part of something that I've been a part of for so long at the highest level it was so deteriorating. Honestly, I felt like I was just. I was depressed. I felt like, finding a purpose of getting up every day and doing something was a struggle for a long time. And fortunately, I've gotten out of that. I've gotten out of that rut and gotten back into the love and appreciation of the game. And it hasn't been easy. I'll tell you that it hasn't been easy. But fortunately, I'm healthy. I can't wait to get back if I get the opportunity to, and I'm ready for sure.
Hey, you're more than just a basketball player. Remember that. Your identity doesn't lie in just the money that you made. You need to know that, too. I think you showed that yesterday, and you showed that this weekend while you were protesting. I'm happy you made it out of that dark place. Now, let's talk about how you got out of the Cavaliers organization. This is one of the most interesting things I've ever seen in my entire life. So LeBron leaves. You're still under contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Was this in the time that you were just referring to as being a little bit depressed because of how long you've been around the league, or did that come after you and the Cleveland Cavaliers decided to part ways?
No, that came after. Honestly, that had so much to do with it because for me, as a competitor, and I know you are a competitor as well. Like, I don't, as fun as you have, holding that championship belt, I can't wait to beat you guys next year.
It's not going to happen.
Competitiveness we have with each other. There's nothing personal or anything like that. That's just the competitiveness. And when Bron left, our team and our owners and our general manager, and they didn't want to be competitive anymore. They didn't want to strive to make the playoffs. They didn't want to be a better team. They wanted to rebuild for a future that me and the current players who went through the trenches to win a championship, to losing 3 finals and all of that, to, okay, well, thanks, but no thanks. We're good. Like, all right. And we're just like, bro, how you gonna, like, how can you do that? Like, I've been on this team for the last 4 years, going to the finals every single year, competing, striving, at least give us the opportunity to start the season off. And you know what? If we're not good enough and midway through the year, listen, guys, we're going to switch it up. We're going to make some trades, get you guys out of here, da, da, da. And if you would have told me that from the door, I can't argue with that because you're being honest with me. You're being upfront with me and telling me everything. But in our situation, it's like, oh, yeah, no. I told guys in the summertime, I said, listen, I want to be in Cleveland. I want to be a Cavalier. I know Bron's gone and everything, but obviously I know you guys have some decisions to make. So if you want to break the team up and do whatever and not be competitive, let me know, and we can try to make it work out, a trade or buyout, however the situation will go. And the whole time they were telling me like, oh no, we're going to be competitive. We're going to try to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. We're still that team, and one person doesn't define our team. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I'm going into a different mindset. We're like, okay, I have to be more aggressive. I gotta do this. I gotta be more of a leader. I gotta be more vocal. I gotta do so many more things. And then when I get to the training camp and everything else, it's just like, oh nah, this isn't the way we're gonna go. I'm like, you could have told me this 2 months ago when we had this conversation.
Yeah. It feels like in basketball, we're learning this now at The Last Dance. I think a lot of people got to see it now. All the storylines and who's upset at who for how they're portrayed, that is not what I want to talk about here. I want to talk about how the storylines is always like, you have a great team, and then do we break it up? Do we move forward? Jerry Krause was painted in a not great light. I assume in this particular case, whenever you're lied to about a team being moving forward in a competitive fashion as opposed to just kind of rolling over and decide trying to lose, that can be very upset. The conversations in the locker room, though, and I want to move to The Last Dance. The conversations in the locker room, you got a chance to play with LeBron. You and LeBron were a great tag team. I mean, 3 finals, you win it. Now, granted, there's obviously that situation in Golden State that you probably have to talk about 7,000 times in your entire life. Which, yeah. What's that?
All the time, literally all the time.
What happened?
You know, it's funny. Like when over the course of the game, and it's happened to me numerous times before, and I'm not going to sit here and say it didn't. Like, I get so caught up in the game and my matchups and stuff. I try to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, where I got to go, and stuff like that. I get caught up in not looking at this clock. I get caught up in not looking at the score and shit like that. And granted, it could have been the most pivotal time to look up and all of that. Yeah, of course, obviously. But in the situation, it was just like, I knew that my efforts, what I was trying to do was help us win the game. Now, whether we lost the game or not, that's regardless of the fact. Would we have won the series or not? Probably not. Who knows? Whatever. But
KD was on fire. There was no chance. But I don't want to blame you guys or anything. You guys are good too.
Right. But my efforts were solely to try and win. It's not like I'm getting paid from a bookie to try and lose the game or anything. You can sit there and see I'm obviously trying to win. Anybody who knows me, been on my team, I'm as competitive as they come. But at the same time, I understand the time we live in of social media and everything else and stuff like that. I mean, look at as great as Charles Barkley was, he could have won a championship too. If he'd not fouled in games, 6 when they played the Bulls.
Do we not like Charles Barkley? Hold on, I just need to know. Do we not like?
No, I don't have a problem with Charles Barkley. No. It's not like that. I understand the time that we live in. Things are going to be way more emphasized and way more on the limelight or whatever than it's going to be for things in the past. I understand that, and I've grown to take advantage of those situations and aspects too. So I'm not immune to things are coming back to harm me and memes and stuff like that. So when people ask me about it, I don't take it personal or anything.
It was a mistake, JR.
People make a mistake trying to make the best effort that I could. Was it not good enough? I tell people all the time, I make 100%. I give you 100% effort all the time. Whether it be good enough for you or not, that's something you're gonna have to deal with. But I'm gonna give you everything I got.
It was a mistake. Things happen. That things happen. It's a mistake, especially in sports with the tensions and the rivalry and the amount of pressure and people make mistakes. These things type of happen. I think, by the way, the reaction of LeBron is the biggest one, which is what I wanted to talk about here. What was LeBron like as a teammate? Because we got a chance to see what Jordan was like as a teammate, and the conversation is always Bron or Jordan. I think it was 2 very different sports. When Michael Jordan was playing basketball, it was a very different basketball than what it is when LeBron plays.
I was like a rugby basketball.
Hey, Stockton's dribbling like this.
There's no way. There's no like. And I say, and obviously, all of it comes with the evolution of time and stuff like that. Because obviously, there weren't tight ends like Gronk and back when in the 50s or whatever. But with all due respect to when people try to compare the generations, could this person play with them and this if you could put realistic Chris Paul versus Bob Cousy. Who do you think is going to win? Like, seriously, bro. Like, Steph Curry versus Dennis Johnson or somebody. Like, bro, come on. Like, granted, those people were great in their era. They were unbelievable for their time. And they helped us get to the stepping stones where we are and at the level we are today. But don't knock us for following y'all footsteps and making it, quote unquote, somewhat either more entertaining or better. Because that's what you guys did for us.
Well, Jordan was a trailblazer, right? So Jordan was the first one to do a lot of things, right? So I think that's why when you hear people talk about Jordan, how there's like, no way LeBron will ever be better than Jordan. You got to think about the people that were watching basketball back in the day when Jordan showed up and started taking off from the foul line, whenever he was going up and under. Things that we see literally every single night in basketball had never been seen before. So I think Jordan, trailblazer, somebody that set the standard, like, hey, this is how basketball is going to go. And then with nutrition, exercise, techniques getting dialed in, everything just got a lot better. It's two very different sports. But what was LeBron like as a teammate? Because seeing behind the closed door there about Jordan being a teammate, he was hard. I got a chance to obviously watch Peyton be great. He wasn't like Jordan, but he held people accountable for everything they did. I would assume LeBron's the same type of player.
Yeah, he definitely holds you accountable. But one thing about Bron, he leads by example with his work ethic. He gives. I think that's the biggest. And his biggest attribute is being able to pull people along with his work ethic. Like he doesn't mind going to the gym and grabbing me, Kev, Tristan, RJ, Channing, Shump, Kyrie, like literally hand by hand, like, all right, come on, we're going to the gym, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're going to go as a team, we go eat, we're going here to do this. Like he's so very. I mean, obviously, it's easier for the better players to do it, but from my existence, Jordan didn't do it, Kobe didn't do it. A lot of players that quote unquote had that quote unquote killer mentality aren't that type of person to do it. And he doesn't. I wouldn't say he's not a scorer. So a scorer is like a person who has a one-track mind to do one individual thing. That's like a sniper. I'm out here to snipe people and pluck people off, and that's it. Jordan and Kobe and those dudes, they did play defense, but they were scorers. Those guys, they're going to put up 50, 60, 70 points a night. When you get somebody who's so well-rounded with rebounding, scoring, passing, dribbling, a good teammate, it's totally different. It's a totally different atmosphere. He's a totally different person than those guys. So when people compare them, it's just like there's no comparison because you can't compare a lion and a tiger. You can't compare them. Oh. They're both cats, but they're not the same.
They both played basketball. Both guys played basketball at a very high level. Two very different ways of operating,
100%.
though. Yeah, I got you.
But you got to understand, the lion is the king of the jungle. Everybody bows down to the lion. The tiger that don't stop the tiger from listening, motherfucker. I'm a bad motherfucker too.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Before we let you go, I can't thank you enough for joining us, JR. You are awesome, by the way. Man. You're really awesome for this. Whenever you are on bike rides with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, are there conversations, and I'm assuming others too, that I just didn't happen to know their name, and that's on me, but is there conversations about the potential rollout plans for what the NBA is thinking about doing down in Orlando? And how is the discussion going from the NBA player side of things? And will you potentially be joining any teams whenever that Orlando thing kicks off?
We had a conversation about it. I think everybody in the players are moving towards the Orlando situation just because it's more it's more obviously the state of Florida is opening up, and I think the governors and the mayors and everything, they're more reluctant to stay open if the coronavirus outbreak goes even, like if one person catches it, I think they're more reluctant to stay open than any other states. So I think that's the main reason why they're looking at Orlando.
And also because Disney's a big sponsor, ESPN, ABC.
Yeah. I mean, obviously. But the thing about it, if they wanted to play, I mean, we have the resources to literally play anywhere if we really realistically wanted to. We have the money and the capabilities to get people tested or on schedule reluctantly. It's just a matter of how we're going to do it. So at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's going to happen. I think hopefully I'll be on the team. It's just a matter of how can they structure it the right way with everybody.
The players do want it to. I think the biggest difference between the NBA and, let's say, the MLB or anything else is like LeBron has come out and said, hey, we want to do this. The big stars, Chris Paul has come out and said, hey, we want to do this. Is that narrative accurate? Like behind the scenes, they do want to get this done? Because this could be one of the coolest things of all time. If they have a bracket style, if this thing has a little bit of March Madness, like this could be a really cool thing for the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think so. I think a lot of guys want to do it. I was 100% know guys, you know, like a CJ McCollum and certain guys have more. I want to be more aware of what's going on and try to be more cognizant of, you know, the social issues with Corona and everything, not just, obviously with Black Lives Matter and everything, but with this particular situation, Corona, because so many different people's health issues. So it's a lot of people who want to play, but it's just as many people who are, you know, worried about their own health and stuff like that.
A little hesitant, obviously. I think we all are, because we have no idea what could potentially happen tomorrow. JR, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for what you did last night, because that person that you beat the hell out of was trying to distract us all from what we're really trying to do here, which is make a better America for everybody. I want to show you our guy that's been answering phones today, big J.R. Smith fan. He did today's show shirtless for you.
Oh, yeah, that's my dog. Hey, man, I'm with you, bro.
I can't because my thing. My things. Ladies and gentlemen, legend on and off the court, J.R. Smith. Appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. Hey, try to get you one of these someday.
Hey, man, next year for sure.
Okay, all right. I'll see you. What a legend.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was a special interview.
Hey, that was cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Lion and Tiger. Don and Westwood One's not going to love that answer, but that's one of the best lines I've ever heard in my entire life. He's a good dude, man. He was so nice to us, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I was in there, we were the loudest group of little white kids in there. We were hanging out in the regular casino, too. Everybody's back in the rich area. JR comes out, daps us up, sits down next to us, introduced me to... I mean, JR's a good guy. Great conversation. Thankful for him. Thankful for all of you for watching and listening. Remember, we are in a moment where I think we're all going to come together. Don't let the BS distract us. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. We'll see you at 1 o'clock.